And Les, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to start us off with a prayer.
Thank you, Michael. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this day, for this opportunity to gather together, to talk about what's important. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to serve, to provide the most basic of needs. Lord, we thank you for the teachers, and we're grateful for schools to be back in session. Lord, we pray for the healthcare workers that continue to battle this disease and are on the front lines every day. Lord, we ask your blessing to be upon this country and the opportunities that you've provided us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Les. We'll have a gratitude little section here. If you want to put a gratitude in the chat box before we move forward. I mean it with all due sincerity. I'll have a couple of gratitudes first, and I will thank them later. Thank you to our panelists for agreeing to share a little bit of themselves and what makes them successful with the rest of the company. That's not always a common thing that you're going to see, and something that I think speaks a lot to them, and sincerely appreciate their help. Chip Reeves had grateful for all the agents at Cane Bay, and I would certainly echo that for all the core agents, and speaking for the brokers, obviously the agents in their individual offices. You know, whether you know it or not, and in your individual offices you do, we love to watch and see your success and your victories as you work to build your business. And even if privately, your failures or your fall throughs or you know, things that hurt you end up hurting your brokers and all of us individually as well. We feel that pain for you and really appreciate you choosing to partner with us. Aisha is grateful to be alive and to know her purpose. Wow, that kind of says a lot. So that's a great one. All right, and so moving to our announcements section, a couple of different things. I think a lot of people, and thank you, I guess this would go in the gratitude section as well, to those who could join us last Wednesday for Rose Seabrook Day. Rose was truly blown away, and it was a great opportunity to make someone who spent the last 50 years making everyone else feel special, feel truly special for a day. And it was a really great experience. Marketing and everybody that helped did a really nice job, and we were able to present Rose not only with a proclamation from the city of North Charleston making it Rose Seabrook Day, but also with something from the chairman of Charleston County Council, from the governor, from her preacher, and also with a flag from Tim Scott that was flown over the U.S. Capitol in her honor. And so I think she was and her family were truly honored and felt special on that day. So great job there. The Park Circle office will be open this week. Maggie was on my screen somewhere, and I'm sure she is jumping up and down wherever she is. There's her woohoo in the chat box. The address is 1023 East Montague. Your fob will get you access to the office. It's a cozy, I think, 683 square feet, but it still is a great place to meet a client if you need to pop in or use, and we're excited about having that open. Earnestly is working and moving forward on earnest money deposits. I don't know if Nick Collins is on the call or not, but I appreciate Nick and his clients' patience and grace with us last week as we found out that Earnestly actually had a cap on the dollar amount that you could process in a 30-day window, and we exceeded that cap in about a week. So we didn't know that cap existed till we hit it. So now that cap has been taken care of. So we've worked through that issue. But when Nick's client got denied, we were scrambling for a minute, and he was very patient and gracious with us as we figured out the bugs in getting those new systems off the ground. So that is taken care of. And there was a really nice post that somebody, I can't remember who, I apologize, had on Facebook last night that they were really grateful for Earnestly. Their client was going to send a wire for an earnest money deposit, and you have to go to the bank and do those things manually, and this made it a lot easier for them to send it. And I know there's been some emails back and forth as to different things, but we're excited about that new program, and it's going well. The same with Global Home Warranty. Obviously, with any new program, there can be some adoption issues or some challenges as you get to use it and get to know it. But with all of those things, whether it's Earnestly or Global Home Warranty, your OAs are there to help walk you through it. And especially on the Global Home Warranty, they've gone through extensive training over the last 30 to 45 days, and they're ready and prepared to help you with any issues that you have, including entering and getting your property signed up and your buyer signed up for that listing. You should have gotten in your email today a little flyer. I guess flyers don't show up when I turn it around on the backdrop. A little flyer for a listing presentation class that's today by marketing, today at 2. If you've not taken the listing presentation class and you want to get the listing presentation binder, or if you want a refresher, you're welcome to sign. You don't need to sign up. Just pop into that Zoom call today at 2. That link's in your email. But we want to make sure that's available for anybody who needed anything on the listing presentation side. Last, on the announcement side, before we talk a little bit about the market, the Walk the Path activity contest is going to start next Monday, which is October 5th. We are going to run a calendar week as opposed to a sales meeting week this time. Sorry for confusion last time. I think that was my idea, but we're going to run Monday to Sunday. So you guys can, do your activities during the week, and then you'll report the same electronic way your activities on your scorecard. They're due by Monday at noon for the following week. So next Monday starts week 1, and then the following Monday, on Monday, October 12th, you'll report week 1 by noon on Monday. What you do in the fourth quarter, and that's going to run through November 22nd, which is right before Thanksgiving. So we'll run it from now to Thanksgiving. John Grasillo will send out some more information about it. What you do in the fourth quarter really will set and chart the course for your 2021, or at least the first half of it. And, we're going to have some cool prizes. But what I'll tell you is the people that were in the prize drawing for participating in the last activity contest, I think John Grasillo has some more stats, but I think their growth in their production beat the market growth by like 500%. So while the prizes are great, the business and activity you see from doing those sorts of activities on a regular basis far exceed any of those prizes. And, we saw some really great growth in the business of the people who were doing those activities on an ongoing basis. So I encourage you, as your brokers will, to participate in the upcoming activity contest that we're going to run from now through November 22nd. Looking a little bit at the market, Dave obviously has been sending out his updates weekly, and then the full ones every 2 weeks. The market continues to set record pace, be on a record pace. We've talked about it before, but the number of properties that are under contract exceed the number of properties that are on the market for sale. And that's a crazy reversal that is not something we normally see. Good and bad news of that. Bad news, we're seeing prices go up. We're seeing inventory fights and people scrambling for inventory and good listings as they come on the market. So that's something to watch for. Last month, we did see new listings go up year over year by 2%, which was good, meaning a few more properties coming on the market. And as we have those conversations with our sellers and property owners, that's important that we'll see those things. Beware of ridiculous market stats in that, don't forget, last September, we did have 4 days for a hurricane evacuation. So we're going to see September numbers that show growth somewhere in the 75% range over last year. And while that is true, it's not, August numbers were up, 40 or 50%. I don't think things are heating up that much more, but because we had the hurricane evacuation days and lost some business days, the numbers are even bigger than they were in August. We'll report third quarter numbers as well. So you might want to look at the numbers for the quarter when you're talking with your clients, as opposed to just things for September. But, especially with school, virtual for many or flexible for most, the seasonal market seems to have been kind of thrown for a loop this year. We're seeing that both in sales. We didn't see the traditional August, September drop off that we do as everyone goes back to school. We've also seen in vacation rentals, lots of activity on the vacation market, especially when your kids can do Zoom school from anywhere. We're seeing, even the vacation schedule that may not happen this summer, some people doing some things even while school is quote unquote in. So just look out for those challenges on the inventory side. As we've talked about, always look for those things that are unique and can help you get a leg up, like Instalists, and we might talk about that in a little bit on our panel, but some ways in which we can leverage that super short inventory if we're able to make some matches and help you out as a buyer's agent, or help create some urgency for you if you're a seller, depending on what the situation is. The last industry thing I wanted to talk about, and then we'll get to the panel discussion, is everybody, I think by now, hopefully, if you're up on what's going on in the industry, has seen Zillow's announcement last week. That really wasn't a surprise to many people in the industry about Zillow getting more into the brokerage world. So let me address a couple of things, and then we'll go from there. What does the Zillow announcement really mean to our market? Right now, it doesn't mean anything. So first off, the Zillow announcement was that in the market where they're doing iBuying, which is about 15 markets around the country, the closest one to us is Atlanta. They're also in Phoenix and Orlando, usually really large metropolitan markets where it's a lot easier for a computer to crank out a price for a property, like Phoenix or Scottsdale or Vegas, some of those markets. In some of the markets, and they're just starting with a handful, where they're doing iBuying, they've been doing that through another brokerage and another licensed agent. At this point, what they're going to do is hire employee agents, so they will be the broker of record for their iBuying transactions. Will that iBuying market ever expand to Charleston? Who knows? At the end of the day, though, it doesn't really matter. If you look back at some of the Larry Kindle pieces, he'll talk about the stage of every buyer. And for us, focusing on relationship sales, and that doesn't mean we don't have agents who do buy Zillow leads or have built their business that way. But as a company, our primary focus is going to be relationship-based selling. And while Zillow can be a resource for your clients in some of those situations, that's not how they're going to pick their realtor. Even if they, look on Zillow for a price of something or other, the whole point, and that's why if you look at buy side and it gives you those valuations, is they range. Don't forget, as Zillow's estimate in our market, their own reported percent of error is almost 10%. So average price point in our markets right now is $400,000. That means if their average sense of error is 10%, that's $40,000 in either way. Even if they get it down to 5%, that's $20,000 range in either direction. So again, that's $20,000 on the low side or $20,000 on the high side. That's double the commission rate almost for that same property. So again, a consumer who really wants the market to be evaluated by an expert who knows their individual street, their individual neighborhood, their individual subsection, and can properly price, position, and sell that house is never going to be replaced by a computer. However, on some of the business Zillow generates, they are going to have some of their own employee agents in certain markets handle those. Again, doesn't surprise me. It's similar to how some of the other iBuying vendors and markets are doing. And we'll just see where it goes from there. But it's not something that I think is really a threat to individual relationship-based selling. Chris Haviland said Zillow will be a member of RMLS, which means they will be a broker and NAR ethics rules will apply. So it will also be interesting to me if Zillow is doing iBuying in some markets. I would have thought one strategy would have potentially been to sell those properties and have to drive all those buyers to Zillow. However, as they join the MLS in those markets and are subject to MLS and NAR rules under clear cooperation, they're actually going to have to list those properties in MLS. So, in certain ways, their activity may actually increase the number of available properties on the market. So we'll be interested to see how it plays out. No real impact on our local market for the time being, and we'll continue to have discussions as this goes through. All right, well, we're right at about 10:20, so on time for what I'd hope to spend the bulk of our time is with our agent panel. Les, I don't know if you're going to have them unmute themselves or if you're going to unmute them collectively, but want to take a brief moment and let our 4 screens, which is 5 individuals, 3 individuals and a team, briefly introduce themselves, let you know how long they've been in the business, what office they're out of, and then we'll kind of get into some questions. Towards the end, I will open it up for some questions through the chat box if you want to enter those as we go through, and I'll monitor those and ask some of our panelists those as we go through. So I think you guys are all unmuted, it looks like. So I'm going to start with you, Kat, and why don't you let everybody know who you are, how long you've been in the business, maybe a little bit about you, whether you're an individual or team. I know you're kind of a new team, and what office you're in.
Hi, y'all. I'm Kat Tarrera, and I am out of the Coleman Boulevard office. I just started a team during COVID, and I have been in the business for 5 years.
Craig?
Hey, I'm Craig Mosqueda. I am in Charleston Central office with good old Rob Woodall. I am a solo agent, and I have been back in the business for 3 years. This is my 3rd year back. I was full-time in 2006, 7, 8, and then did part-time real estate and full-time volleyball coaching between the time that I came back in 2018.
And I apologize, Haley, for not doing ladies first. And Craig's right next to Kat on my screen, so I was just kind of going in order, and I was like, ooh, I should have gone with all the ladies and made Craig go last. But Haley?
All right, so I'm Haley Kisslinger. I actually do have a team with the Katie Weinbrenner, so the Kisslinger group. I am out of the Metro North office. I just started my 5th year in real estate, and yeah, so alrighty.
Thanks. And Rachel and Amy, who I no longer see on my screen. Do you see them, Les, or can they unmute themselves?
They are, I think
there they are.
There they are.
Rachel and Amy, you need to unmute yourself. Oh, there you go. Now you're free.
There we are. I'm Amy Meanstead. This is Rachel King, and she and I have been partners since 2015, but I've had my license since 2008, and she's had her license since 2007. And we're with the Cane Bay office.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so, the goal here is really for you guys to hear from them. So I'm going to put out some general questions, and I'll certainly kind of prompt them to you and kind of see where we go. I don't want to necessarily just go down the line of every question. So if you guys have something that you want to chime in on, if you give us a little indication, or if you agree with what somebody else said and don't really have anything to add, then we'll kind of move on from there. But we still find ourselves in a little bit of the new normal. I was talking yesterday with some industry groups about listing inventory and new listings, and there were questions about COVID protocols and people that may not want to list in this market, and how much is that adding to our shortage of listing inventory. And so I did want to have a couple of questions that kind of address some of those. So the first one, and I'll start with Haley. So I'll go in reverse order on my screen this time. And maybe say, how has your business changed over the past 6 months as a result of COVID-19? And, are those changes that you think will survive the pandemic, things that you've put into place that you can plan to continue to make part of your business? Or, you know, do you think those are short-term changes, and when this is behind us, that they're not things you'd keep? So Haley, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business in the last 6 months?
So over the past 6 months, I know right when COVID hit, I kind of got a little bit nervous, just because I didn't really know where it was going to do. And I think that resonates with pretty much everybody here. But my business did, you know, completely do the opposite of, I think, my biggest fear. It took off. I do think I had a little bit of a upper hand, a little advance going into this, because a lot of my clients are from out of state and out of country. I deal with a lot of the military. So I was already very accustomed and well known for doing video tours for my clients and handling the whole process by myself without them present, with them never setting foot in a home. So I think part of that really helped my business, being able to prove to them that I was the agent that they could trust to buy a home sight unseen, to handle the process, to keep an eye on the home. So when COVID hit and everything went virtual for the most part, it definitely made my job a little bit easier and less stressful than I think most. But being able to set yourself apart and adapt is very important. Just because something worked for my business before doesn't mean that it works during COVID or it's going to work after. So I always stress being open to changes and be aware of what's being thrown at you. Be malleable as much as possible. See what your clients need and ask them. Ask them what would be more helpful to them. You know, what are your fears? Because getting on their level and fully understanding where they're coming from, you're able to relate to them in a way that most agents are not. And really showing them that you care about them and their specific scenario it makes a world of a difference. I can't even tell you how much, because there's so many agents that are like, here's some houses, here's a contract, sign it, you know. But if you can get on that level with them and they can really trust you on a whole different level, you'll be amazed at what it can do for your business.
I think that's, I love, you know, writing down a few of the words, and, you know, you talk about, you know, care and trust and adapt and, you know, relate to your clients. And I think those really are the key features and differentiators, especially when we're talking about relationship selling. And to go back to that earlier point that I was talking about, Zillow, none of those can be replaced by an algorithm, and none of those can be replaced by a computer model. So, you know, that's really, I think, an important differentiator when you're talking about relationship selling, and how, you know, that client is your client, not in this transaction, but for the long term. Amy and Rachel, why don't you guys talk a little bit about your business over the last 6 months? How has it changed, and how has it stayed the same?
Well, it's interesting because when COVID first hit, I think all of our clients really were looking to us to tell them what was going to happen and what to do. And of course, we've never lived in a pandemic either, but, you know, we met a lot and talked to each other about how are we, you know, taking charge, especially when it comes to the simple things like, how are we showing houses and how are people going to show our listings, and really setting ourselves up as not an expert by any means about the pandemic, but here's how we feel like we should proceed in order to just provide the highest level of protection for the client that we could. You know, they seem to really appreciate that. So we ordered masks, we ordered gloves, we provided those, and we asked agents that they, you know, use them. And we were very intentional with our discussions with our clients and also our discussions with other agents. As far as our business is concerned, we definitely have relied a little bit more on virtual tours, virtual open houses. We actually seem to really like the virtual open houses better than a regular open house, which I know, you know, is a little bit different, but we get a lot more engagement on the virtual open houses, and I feel like it's much better exposure actually for our listings.
And why don't you tell everybody, when you talk about what you're doing, because there are so many different things in terms people use as far as virtual showings and, you know, other things, you know, as to really what some of those mean. So when you talk about doing a virtual open house, why don't you tell people how you do it and what you do?
Okay, and we've always done like a 3D tour with our listing package, so that didn't change. But with the virtual open house, we basically do a Facebook and Instagram live. And we always pick a theme. So whether it's champagne, mimosas and cupcakes, or whatever the case may be, we start a week prior to the open house, advertising it on those social media platforms, inviting people, asking them to share the event. We always offer a
giveaway of some sort.
Like a gift card, Hall's gift card. If you share the event, you're entered into the giveaway. If you attend the live, you're entered into the giveaway. And then on the day of the open house, it's probably 30 minutes they take, because we, walk through the house, we chat with people, we interact with them on the live, and that's really fun. It also has given us some extra little business here and there, because people will be like, oh, well, we need an office in our house, and it's, a past client that we know does not have that. So it's given us an opportunity to then follow up with them. But the last one we did, we had 1,400 people view the open house, and our sellers were thrilled. So not every listing is getting to a point where you can even do an open house. Yeah. So for the ones that last a week, we love to do it. It's something we try to plan as soon as we list the house.
That's great. And, I think, and I'm going to go to you in just one second, Kat. But I think, Amy and Rachel, I think one of the key things that you hit on as well was the fact that a lot of those activities on the listing side allow you to connect with other members of your sphere or other people that you don't know. Definitely. And so I think a lot of people see that even sometimes with C180, they'll be like, well, the listing's going to sell in 2 days, so I don't really need to advertise it. Well, a lot of times you're advertising yourself, and you're advertising a way to use that listing. As you said, you plan ahead of time to connect with other potential clients to get more business, not just to sell that listing. So it kind of has that dual purpose.
Yeah.
Kat, I'd like to hear about your business in the last 6 months, and also maybe talk about, during the last 6 months, and I think Haley started off right, there was obviously a lot of fear when it started, but if everybody remembers back when Steve Harney came back in 2008, 2009, he used the example of a NASCAR track. And he said, unfortunately, there's some agents that take their foot off the gas when they head into a curve, but that's not really what you need to do. What you really need to do is accelerate into that curve. And Kat, I know over this time, you've actually formed a team and your business has grown. So why don't you talk a little bit about how your business has been over the last 6 months, what, if anything, you're doing differently, and then maybe address that, how you made the decision to accelerate into the curve as opposed to take your foot off the gas.
Yeah, so I took this as an opportunity to regroup. And so I think it's really easy to kind of continue to do what you're doing in real estate. And I took a step back and said, okay, what are my goals now? And so I like to benchmark my goals per quarter in case I need to adjust. And that's exactly what I did. I know there was a lot of uncertainty in the world, and I specifically used social media to elevate my business and be that positive reinforcement that people could come and look and know that I was the agent that they could trust through this very scary and unprecedented time, as everyone says. And so, with that regrouping, I said, okay, what are the things that I don't excel in? And that is paperwork. So I got a full-time transaction coordinator, and then I found a great buyer's agent. And so I knew, being in the business for 5 years, that my people were starting to sell and then buy. So I kind of had an abundance of opportunity, and I couldn't physically be everywhere with COVID. So I needed to readjust. And so I formed a team, and it's actually been great because the pace of real estate for a second slowed down a bit, and I could bring on more people and serve more. And then specifically with social media, that was a great platform where I could get in front of people, just like Amy and Rachel's team, where they didn't need to be face-to-face And so I did a lot of listing videos, and they were silly. And so they had people laughing and engaging, and it's really worked.
That's great. Craig, I learned something every day. I did not know you coached volleyball. Maybe you can give me some tips one day, because I'm not a good volleyball player at all. But Craig, why don't you talk about the last 6 months for you and your business, and kind of what you've seen, and I will after we finish this round, Craig, kind of open some things up and start with you in case everybody took some of your answers. But
Okay.
Craig, why don't you tell them some of your thoughts over the last 6 months?
Well, it was definitely interesting when the COVID hit. I think when everything got closed down, I was very fortunate that I had, I think I had 11 things pending. And so I felt comfortable that as long as lending didn't lock things up and kick some of my people out and some things didn't close, I still felt like we were going to be able to survive the year financially. Plus, we're good savers. So we were okay there. That one of my, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but one of my major things is I do focus on my hot list. So that's my whiteboard. And that's one of the things I just really dove into this year. I also, I took about 3 days off when they first shut everything down. And then I just, I still got people calling, people still want to see stuff. So I proceeded with caution and kept showing houses. And I still drive separate when I go show houses with people. And so I just always tried to give people a sense of safety and security as we're walking through houses or meeting, so that they felt comfortable. And if people required us to wear masks, we wore masks, social distance, all that good stuff. But I just really was very fortunate that the last 2 years I worked really hard on the what do we call those things? The challenges, the competitions, and I just try to grow off of those. This is my best year ever in real estate, and so I want to build on that. But a couple of things that I think Kat said, that I wanted to find a way to get better. I mean, that's one thing I wrote down earlier was how do I get better? She's paperwork. I started doing my old broker from Kentucky. He always had a sheet, so I stole this from him, and it's helped me get organized and know when appraisals are supposed to be done and paperwork supposed to be turned into attorneys, and just trying to get better. And I probably need to hire someone to help me out. But I do have some of the transactions I've used contact to closing to help me out because there are a lot of things going on. I actually let off the gas a little bit on my social media, other than just posting things randomly. But I see, oh gosh, I just totally forgot his name. Drives around a red BMW, does awesome social media videos all the time, and he's kind of my inspiration. So
there you go.
I'm gonna get back into it and get things rolling.
No, I mean, I think that's great, as Kat said, or as Craig said, and that's kind of why we have some things like C2C and the closing coordinators is, your business may not be to a level where you need somebody full time. At the same point, when you end up with that many transactions for, $300, if you can focus on listing appointments or other things and let somebody focus on some of those details, a lot of it really is the highest and best use of your time, and making sure you're maximizing, the effectiveness of what you do. I learned being in a law firm that, if senior partners charge more than junior partners, which charge more than associates, which charge more than paralegals, which charge more than runners, and what you always wanted is the least expensive person who was qualified to do the job doing it, because that made more sense instead of you running all over town or scheduling things if somebody can do that for you. And that's why we, do some of those things. Craig, I don't want to put you on the spot. So I should learn from my lawyer life and never ask a question I don't know the answer to, but I'm assuming somewhere you've got either a vision board or a goal list for what you're trying to achieve.
I do, and I've hit several of them this year, and it's interesting because I I've had several closings this year, and I think, oh, I should have X amount in my account, but I've been able to knock off some of those things. Like we bought an investment, well, we bought a mobile home that I'm really just, it's a new one. I'm putting on land and I'm just turning around and selling it. So I'm doing little things like that that I never thought going through Ninja was huge. And in 2006, 7, 8, when I was in real estate, when the market turned, you guys all remember the time that business would just fall in your lap all the time. And it was crazy. And then when it turned, I didn't know how to build a business. And so going through Ninja has totally helped. And anytime I know somebody's getting into business, even if they're not coming to Carolina One, I will send them a Ninja book just because I know that's how you build a business. When I first got back, I was with a company, they're out of Anderson, South Carolina. And I said, hey, I'm full-time now, help me out. And he said, oh, I'll come down and train you every once in a while. And I knew I needed training. And so I'm very fortunate that I came with Carolina One and spent some time with John Brewer, and I've got a rock star broker that pushes me all the time. So he's always encouraging me.
Kat, what do you do? And I'll broaden it a little bit. What do you do business planning wise, goal setting wise, and when do you start? And looking forward to 2021, since we're, I think, a day away from the fourth quarter starting. Take us through your process a little bit on how you build that roadmap for where you and your team are going next year.
So I am kind of crazy about goal setting. I have a folder of every single year, the checklist that goes out with Carolina One. I fill that out, and each quarter I adjust because our business is so, it's the roller coaster career. So, I have already exceeded what I thought I was going to do this year. And so, it's good to be flexible in your methods. And, I like to benchmark where I'm at. I track how many followers I have on social media. I have a vision board. I actually do my vision board in June. Typically in a normal world, my business kind of drops off when school starts back up. I don't know if that's just me or everyone, but sure. I like to do it kind of my vision board in that slump when I'm kind of unmotivated. I think everyone hits the ground running at the beginning of the year. And so I like to kind of benchmark where I'm at and do my vision board when I slow down and when I need that motivation. So I think adjusting to the climate of what's going on in the world is good. And, your goals can be fluid and flexible.
And where do you keep your vision board?
In my personal office at home. But now that I have an office.
Buried in a drawer?
No, I see it every single day. I have, I literally printed out homes. They're like very colorful and motivating. And I check off with a Sharpie, how many I want to sell. And so that's kind of, if you write it down and you see your goals and then you physically check it off, it feels like you accomplished it. So I now have a printed thing where I am going to track each quarter for exactly how many homes I have under contract, buyers and sellers, and I'm getting more specific on my tracking to see which quarters I need to kind of up my game.
Yeah, John will tell you, and I don't have the stats handy. If you set a goal in your own mind, you have a certain percentage chance of achieving it. If you write it down, it goes up exponentially. If you share it with others, it goes up even more exponentially. And everybody on this call has a broker whose job is not to list and sell property, but to help hold you accountable to those goals. I visited a company in Toronto one time, and their number one agent, when I walked into his office, he had exactly what Craig had, which was a big whiteboard with his hot, warm list, A, B, C, and D's, all of his clients, their names written down. And then right behind his desk, he had his vision board. And, he said every day when he walked into the office, the first thing he saw was all of his clients. So he knew, who can I help today? who can I focus on? You know, what am I thinking about when I see that new listing? Maybe I'm looking at this guy's name and that pops into my head. And then before he sat down on his desk, he saw his vision board, which is why am I doing all of this? And then he got to work. Haley, talk a little bit about your how you do your goal setting, your tracking, and your business planning moving forward, especially as you've got, you know, a growing team. And you know, how do you get somewhere on purpose instead of just drive around for 30 minutes, as they would say, people without a map?
So I have to agree a little bit of what Craig said and Kat. Writing things down is essential. I have a huge whiteboard in my office. I have one at home, and then I also have one in my office of my hot sheet, my hot list, my warm list, and then even just a couple other people who don't quite fit into either one of those lists just yet, but would like to be on those lists one day. Growth is a big part of my goal setting and consistency. So the growth, I have several different channels, if you will, or pillars that they go into. So one's just for myself, one's for my business. And when it comes to my business growth, I separate into two. I track my numbers because I'm a big numbers person. I get incentivized by seeing the numbers increase in terms of listings, buyers, GCI, things like that. And then I also have one in terms of growing for knowledge, which is a huge thing for me because I want to be able to be, you know, I feel like I am part of an expert, but I want to be, you know, better every year. So that's a huge part of my growth. And doing that, I believe strongly will automatically help you become better, and your numbers will go up the more you know. You know, Charleston has a bunch of agents. So I, every once in a while, go on the MLS to check my numbers to kind of see where I'm at. And I try to goal set based off of that, which can be helpful looking at all of those numbers. Now, this year, which I wasn't expecting, I reached my goal, which I felt was a big goal, by June. So I've since actually doubled that. So going into 2021, I, you know, have made even bigger goals. I grew my team last year by one person. And she's been absolutely fantastic. Right as COVID started off, we dove into commercial as well. So I do have plans to potentially bring on another teammate, which I didn't have planned in the beginning of the year. So being malleable and ready to take whatever real estate takes at you is a huge part of my goal setting. But I have everything written down for each of my pillars. I go through how many people are in my sphere, and a big part of my goal setting is also making sure that sphere is consistent in building relationships and that those stay strong. So
it's really funny because Rachel's over here in my ear going, I don't do any of that.
All right, well, Amy, Rachel, you guys, how do you guys do it?
Well,
but that's the whole point is we get a chance to learn from everybody. So if everybody, if you hear something you like that you can incorporate into your business, then I count the day as success. So Amy and Rachel, how do you guys handle on the team dynamic, your planning, your goal setting, your tracking? And since we have both of you guys, do you guys do it collectively? Is it individual? Mm-hmm. You know, how does that work on the team side since we have both you guys on the call?
I mean, I need to try that. I need to try some vision boards.
Rachel's learning a lot today. No, I actually am really good about goal setting, and I keep track of everything that we do. And I have goals set for us, and I also have goals that I just set for myself. And then I say to Rachel, like, here's where we are, pick it up. But
and I'm like, oh, okay, that's good.
No, I mean, she really, you know, we definitely work very differently, and I am like super visual. So I have an Excel spreadsheet. I know everything we have under contract, what we have coming, when it's closing, what our GCI is, all of that. Rachel has never cared anything about that. She's like, tell me what the goal is. And at the end of that, do I get to buy myself a nice purse or take a nice trip? And I say, yes, you do. So that's kind of how we work that.
I mean, my business is extremely organic, and everything I do is just strictly about relationships and being intentional with the people in my world and in my sphere. I have 6 kids, so it's not hard to be like involved in a lot of things. And I mean, I just stay involved in all the things, and I don't know, things just happen for me. So, but Amy like sends out postcards and she does this and she does that. And I'm always like, wow, yeah, I should try that. I should do that. But I don't do any of that. I just connect. That's it. I just
Well, but
connect.
it's great to have a partner who can help you in some of those areas that may not be your biggest strengths. And yeah, and as a company, just so you guys know, we do the exact same things you guys do. We sit at the year and plan our business. And as Kat said, I think it's important to be able to look at it on a quarterly basis and then adjust those things, because as Haley said, sometimes you end up in the, middle of the year and you reach that goal. So it's always important to, adjust and refine so that you're continuing, because sometimes one of the worst things you can do, like the car chasing or like dog chasing the car, is actually catch the car. And then you're like, great, what now? So you always want to keep moving that forward. Craig, I'll let you add on if there's anything you want to add on to the planning and tracking discussion, although you kind of let a little bit of it off, if there's anything you want to allow to those. But also wanted to talk, Craig, about what are you doing to best position yourself and your clients, or on the buyer side, in this market with inventory so super tight, and knowing that some situations everybody's out there fighting for the same stuff. So how are you adjusting, not now to a COVID world, but to a world where we have under 2 months of inventory market wide?
Yeah. So when we actually sell a listing and we get the 3 free postcards, I usually expand that to about 100.
30.
Yeah, 30, but I do 100.
Yeah.
I mean, not free, but I pay.
Oh, free. I thought you said 3. Yeah. As part of the C180 program, you get the 30 just sold postcards. You expand those?
So I expand that to at least, depend on the size of the neighborhood. If it's a small neighborhood, if I'm Poplar Grove, I'm not going to send 100 because there's not 100 homes in there. But whatever the neighborhood is, so farming, I'm trying to talk to some of my past clients. I am talking to my past clients about, the shortage of inventory. Are you looking to move up? Is it Rachel? Which one's Rachel?
Amy and Rachel?
Yeah, I am just like her as far as I'm all about relationships. I like people. I like getting around people. They ask me about real estate. I don't have to bring it up. And so it's just kind of a beautiful thing that it's, I don't force it on anyone. They just, how's the market? How's your business? And so it's kind of cool. And everywhere I go, I mean, they hang out with the same 3 couples about every weekend, and they always ask every time we see each other. So it's kind of cool. So same thing. Did you say organic? I think that was the word she used. That I just do a lot of talking to people, and I am an extrovert, but sometimes I try to be introvert. And my wife wants me to go somewhere with my son's soccer team and for practice and go hang out. And I'm like, I don't want to go do that. But then I realize, man, there's 11 families right there that may have a need, or may just have a question. So I go and I put on my Call Craig shirt that says Call Craig on back if you have a real estate need, and I go to soccer practice.
And there's already a realtor spouse with Carolina One on the team, so don't everybody flood me at the same time. But you're absolutely right, Craig, on that. My son got a new player on his soccer team, and I'm talking to the dad, and he's like, well, we're renting in Mount Pleasant. My wife's going to work at MUSC, and we just moved here. And I'm just like, oh, you're going to be buying a house in the next year. And there's already a mom on the team. So she was just like, but you're right. When you have those conversations and it's sincere and organic, and, the opportunities really can present themselves. Kat, what are you doing in a no inventory world on behalf of your buyer clients?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Michael, because—
And this was not set up, I promise.
I know. Well, so before the call, just to put it out there, Haley and I recently did a sale from the InstaList/Facebook thing. My clients were looking for a home, and I said, hey, does anyone have anything coming up? And she was like, actually, I do. I can get you in early. And Oh my goodness, it is the most gorgeous house, and my clients are just thrilled. We got in early. I called her and I said, listen, you need to cancel the photographer because we're putting in a full price offer. So not only did Haley look really good as their listing agent, I looked really good on the buy side because I offered something that was off the market and my clients could get something that they love and not have to compete for multiple offer. And Haley listed something that didn't even go live. And so it was just such a win-win. And y'all, I mean, Robin Hall, I hope everyone saw that message. We need to be utilizing InstaList because there is so much opportunity to sell within the company and there's no inventory. So it helps everybody out if you put your listings and your buyer needs on InstaList so we can all connect that way.
Well, I appreciate that. I put in the chat box hashtag not a setup because that Kat actually said, can Haley and I bring this up? I said, no problem on my end. Haley, as a listing agent in that scenario, tell me about your thought process of putting that in there and then, working with Kat and on that individual transaction. And also maybe anything else you're doing in a low inventory, no inventory world on behalf of your clients.
So when it comes to the listing side, having that tool available to us is invaluable to our clients. I can't tell you how many listings that list with us because they're able to get, showings early, and some of them have children, especially with COVID right now. So many people would prefer to sell their home, even though they know it's going to sell quickly, without having to go on the market, have photographers in and out, have showings in and out, even if it only lasts a couple days with the uncertainty of the COVID. Some families have immune compromised people. So being able to do that, get one early showing of somebody that is very serious buyers, because the buyers that are looking at these houses early have probably seen everything else and they're not loving it. So being able to get in there, put an offer in, makes your client's life so much easier, so much less stressful, and they can just move along. And usually those offers are good offers because they don't want to, go ahead and go on the market. They're not going to lose it. Now, from the buyer side, I've found that relationships with the real estate world has been very, very important when it comes down to the lenders that we use, when it comes down to the other agents on the other side. In this short inventory, I can't tell you how simple it is when you're sending over an offer for your buyers to write a short email, mention the details, mention, just to make the listing agent's life a little bit easier. Put all that in there, put a nice note, explain the situation a little bit if you want. It really puts you and sets you apart from the other agents that are throwing offers in that maybe it's incomplete. You can tack on the lender's number, all of that, because I've gotten so many clients that the agent on the other side has accepted my client's offer, even if it wasn't necessarily the highest offer, because they knew it was going to close. They knew the name Carolina One, they knew the lender, and they could have faith that it was going to be done, well.
Yeah, I equate it sometimes to think about that really great present you get that has like a label on the back says like from Kat to Michael, or the really great present you got that has this really nice card and this great message in it, and you think about how much more powerful that is. And we still have agents who, just drop a contract into an agent's inbox. I mean, you have the chance really to tee up your contract in nearly every situation. So I think that really plays to what all of you have said, which is acting intentionally in almost every aspect of your business. Amy and Rachel, on you guys on what are you doing in a no inventory world to try to get an advantage?
Well, we do a lot of begging on a daily basis. Well, you talk about it. I mean, she just said the same thing. We just got one that was multiple offers, but because our package was so complete, when it went over and the agent felt, she knew our track record and that it would close, they went with our offer. A lot of networking. I got one for my sister-in-law on James Island from putting something on the Carolina One Facebook page. And Johnny Fermanchik actually called me and said, you need to reach out to this flipper. He's always got something going. And so I reached out and he had something going. That was literally exactly where she wanted. And although he did not want to sell it to us before he put it on the market, if you ask enough times, sometimes they'll concede. So we were able to get that. But yeah, I mean, you have to get a little bit creative. It's not just like, oh, well, there's, 50 homes to show you in the $250,000 price range. Pick your, take your pick. It's definitely.
Like, our connections are honestly saving us right now.
Haley touched on this, your connections with other agents. I think people really underestimate how important that is. And sometimes you want to ream someone because they made a mistake or the closing's late or whatever the case may be. But really how you're interacting with that agent will come back to either help you or bite you. So we try to focus on that whenever we're, going through that.
No, I think, you really can't say it better, whether it's buyers or sellers or whether it's upcoming properties. The more you're inflow with your sphere, the more your inflow with other agents, the more activity you're going to see. And it's why we've always invested in such and believe so much in such a heavy engagement environment.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest issue in some of our offices is not enough parking spaces because agents want to be in the offices. And the agents in the office are not the ones who have no business. It's the people who have a lot of business because they're in flow with one another. It's important to go to sales meeting. It's important to go to Caravan. I had the opportunity one time to hear Michael Phelps's swim coach. Michael Phelps's swim coach couldn't hang with Michael Phelps for 5 meters, but Michael Phelps had a coach to make him better. And the broker in each of your offices is there to help you with your goal setting, to help you keep you accountable, to make sure you've got somebody pushing you. And especially as we get close to the fourth quarter, make sure that you guys really are taking advantage of that as you prepare for the goal setting. And I'm sure the broker's like, I can't believe it's that time again. But it is, and they'll be ready to do that. So it's right at 11. I'm going to, maybe ask for some, and this wasn't on my list, maybe some market predictions as I thank each of you guys for sharing and participating. I'd be interested, and you guys can put this in the chat box for our agents who were on the call, if they liked the panel format, if you'd like to see some more of this moving forward, because I've certainly enjoyed it. But Kat, where are we? Where's the market headed, and what do you see, or what's your plan over the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, I think with the rates so low, this is an excellent opportunity to educate maybe the people that you don't necessarily think understand. So I've kind of taken the stance of educating on people on what is happening today and how that affects them. So this is an opportunity to not only get your house on the market because inventory is low, but also to move up in your buying power. So I am seeing this as an opportunity. I don't know what's going to happen. I think the election is going to have a lot to do with that, not to get into politics, but what I do know is rates are at a historic low and they're not going to change anytime soon, or so I'm told. And, one of the things I tell all my clients is I don't have the crystal ball, and what we can do today is know these facts. And I think if we all had the crystal ball on COVID, we would have changed a lot of things, but I don't know what it's going to do, but I know what it's doing today.
You talk about if we'd seen COVID coming, maybe we could have changed a few things, but maybe it was better we didn't see it coming, because
Right.
I think if you told me it was coming, it would have been worse than just like, oh my God, it's here, and how do we handle it? I think I threw out our budget in March, and now we're kind of like Haley, we've passed it for the year and we're having to readjust. Craig, where are we, or where are you headed in the next 3 to 6?
I am preparing for the spring already. So I am really, I guess, doubling down on Ninja right now, just so that I am ready for, I think with the rates being so low, I think we're going to have a great year next year. I see it. I don't know. I just have a strong forecast. I think a lot of people, because I've had a lot of people coming down from the north, I think once this clears up, people are going to be heading our way and wanting to move and settle in our area. So I'm getting ready for that.
Amy and Rachel, you dropped off my main screen, but I think you're probably there somewhere. I lost them, so maybe they may hop back on. But Haley, unless I see Rachel and Amy, I'll give you the last word. Where are you headed, or where are we all headed in the next 3 to 6?
So I think I agree a little bit with, what both Kat and Craig said again, but of course, nobody has that crystal ball to be able to see exactly what the market's going to do. But, from what I've researched and what I've heard from lenders and seeing these rates so low, it is a really great tool for buyers to get into a home. It's kind of complementing the listing shortage a little bit because it's giving them a little bit more buying power, which I find has been a little bit, has been pretty helpful to most of my buyers. Also, I've heard that a lot of people are kind of migrating out of the big cities, and Charleston has always been a destination place. And with the restrictions a little bit more lax in this area anyway, a lot of people are coming here and are like, oh, thank God, I can do something. I can go to work. I can make money. My children can go to school. And that's a personal choice for everybody. So to each their own. But I think it is going to help our market a little bit. I don't know for sure, but I know the election has a lot to play in it. But I think these rates being low are really helping our economy, and that migration will maybe not necessarily help the U.S. as a whole, but the Charleston market I foresee being strong for the next few years.
The market's like the weather; it's usually local.
Yes.
And I do see Amy and Rachel, not Rochelle. Sorry, Rochelle's down the hall. And you guys, I'll give you the last word to send us out. What are you guys seeing for your business or your plans, or where are we headed in the next 3 to 6 months for your business? Oh, now you guys are muted again.
Yeah, there's something going on with their connection, Michael.
Oh, all right. Well, we got a few connection problems right here at the end. I apologize. I want to thank all of our panelists, Kat and Craig and Haley and Rachel and Amy, for sharing their insights and thoughts. I think I've gotten some pretty good comments. Rachel and Amy sent notes and they're muted. Can you unmute yourself, or can they unmute themselves? Les, can you unmute Emily and Rachel? Let's see if Les can unmute you guys, just so. But I think, there you go. All right, now I'll let you guys answer the last question so I don't send you off muted. Where are you guys headed in the next 3 to 6 months, market-wise or your activity-wise?
I mean, just plugging along, just keeping our plans in place, checking our goals and checking our hot sheet. And I mean, we don't have any plans to stop.
I just saw the new subdivision, or the new section of up by Sheep Island Road that was annexed by Somerville, and I think you guys are right in that area that's going to be growing for many years to come. So
yep.
Again, thank you to Kat, Haley, Craig, and both Rachel and Amy, and really appreciate you guys sharing with us. Hope to see everybody in 2 weeks. We will definitely have some more panels and some more discussions. Love the dog, Craig, and we'll go from there. So everybody have a great week. Remember, activity contest starts next Monday, so you will see some stuff coming out from John Grasillo. And today at 2 is a listing presentation, Zoom meeting with marketing if you need to attend that. So thank you very much and appreciate everybody, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
Michael.